I like that slowly and slowly, the platform fighter genre is trying to get its foot into the door. A few months ago, Rivals 2 released, and overall it's doing very well. A lot of promises have been made, a lot of people are still playing it even to this day, and that's pretty cool. And NASB 2 is slowly getting its good merits after all this time. A lot of updates have been to the game, a lot of characters are fun now, a lot of bugs have been gone away, and a lot of people want to really enjoy the game, so I can only hope that that keeps going. However, there seems to be one platform fighter that has been forgotten in the scene, and that would be Rushdown Revolt. Rushdown Revolt to me is very special. Because I didn't want to play Smash games anymore, I needed alternatives. The first one was definitely Rivals 1, played a lot of hours in that game. But the second one was Rushdown Revolt. I already have a video talking about my experience, but one of the biggest things that happened at that point was me going to Genesis and actually playing one of the builds that Rushdown Revolt had that they wanted to show out to the masses. This was before I knew how to cancel my attacks, but overall, I just loved the game. I love the engine, I love the characters, I liked all the stuff that you can do in the game, everything was just great. But that was a long time ago. And we gotta talk about the now. And the now is that the game has been brushed off to the side. Now, are there good reasons why it's happened? Yes. And to ignore them is going to ignore how this game could actually get better. So let's just talk about it. One of the biggest problems that everyone has in this game is definitely the graphics. I think this can be explained in two ways. In how the game actually looks, and then the key poses. So what do I mean by how it looks? Usually when it comes to the critique about that, it's really about the clarity of the characters. If you see something like Rivals 2 or see something like Super Smash Bros., the characters are really clear in how they present themselves. When you see someone do a move, it's pretty clear what they're doing, and it's pretty good. For Rushdown Revolt, it's not really like that. A lot of animations, whether it due to budgetary reasons or certain effects, it makes it really hard to see, especially since it's very fast as a game. Pair that together, when it comes to a beginner level, a lot of people think it just looks very jumbled, and it takes a lot of time, or not really a lot of time, but just a little bit more time than usual in order to just see where the game is going and how the game is played. It also doesn't help that a lot of the characters, their silhouettes or how they look really good, and sometimes it doesn't really feel that way when you actually play the game. Maybe they look a little bit worse. Maybe it's just the fact that the art style is so good, and maybe the game doesn't really reflect that too much, and it just needs a little bit of extra effort, but I can see where people get this. For key poses, that's more obvious. Some characters do things and it just looks very off, and it doesn't look like the impact or just the frame of which really accentuates the character sometimes. It's only sometimes, but especially when you want the character to feel awesome, this can look pretty bad. Another thing is definitely the optimization of the game in general. Whether it's booting up the game or maybe the game just randomly just ends, things like that. This could be because they have lower NPCs, but I don't know, I think that's kind of just an excuse. I feel as though even if you don't have the best PC in the world, you should be able to still play this game. Finally, I think one of the biggest problems of the game was definitely when it had its I'll put in quotations, but its new release. When it had one of its biggest updates, you kind of had to pay for online in the game. This was very weird, especially since you already could just buy skins anyway and just give people money. Yes, this was reversed after a while, but I guess that sort of negative connotation is still in the game, and you know what? Makes sense. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why Rushdown Revolt has gotten negative press and has gotten lower and lower players as time has gone on. However, even with all this, I feel as though people should give Rushdown Revolt another chance. Because not only did they change the method of payment beforehand, making it free to play, but over time the game has gotten really good at just being a great experience to play. Two things that every single person that even critiques Rushdown Revolt, the two things that people love about this game is definitely the characters and the mechanics. The characters in the game are just fun and just have a lot of good gimmicks held onto them that are very interesting. I've already talked about a few of them in my other videos, but let's just have a reminder. Urda has a special sort of cargo throw that she can use at any time that she grabs someone, creating very fluent combos. Every time Seth hits you with a sort of electric move, it charges the bar, and he can expend that bar into making a lot of circumstances happen. Whether it's electrocuting the stage, giving him armor on certain moves, or even just making like EX versions of the moves that are stronger and faster in order to hit. Afi and Galu are probably the best tandem fighters that I've ever seen. You can play as one character, send the other character to another side of the stage, do a combo, maybe get the person into the other guy, and then switch in order to extend the combo. But the opponent also gets turns in order to interact with that sort of other creature that they have to play against. So it makes it so that it balances your offense by making you weaker in certain areas, making the game be more interesting. These are not only smart designs, but they're also very fun to not only play, but play against. Not only that, but the mechanics in general that the game has are very enjoyable. Usually people would be on the fence with taking sort of traditional fighter things and applying them to platform fighters, but I really think Rushdown Revolt, especially throughout the later years, has done this very well. Beforehand, the rush mechanic was very... I guess it made combos too long for the most part, but they've definitely toned it down a lot to the point where it's just... it makes a lot of more flexible things happen rather than just makes the thing long for no reason. They gave everyone a DP in the game, and that's pretty cool. All you gotta do is stay at a neutral stance in the stage, press up B, and you just get a completely different move. There's ledge lobbing, which is definitely a very new and very good mechanic when it comes to like ledge setups. And even things like adding super jump when you do rush is just, I don't know, it's just so incredibly fun and gives a lot of diverse options of how you play the game. Putting that all together, it just makes playmaking and just makes actually dueling the opponent just incredibly interesting. Side note, but this also pairs well with the fact that they probably have the best known rollback that I've ever seen in a lot of platform fighters, so there's that. These qualities are the reason why people like stay in the Discord and stay playing this game, because it's just so fun. It just sucks that the negatives, for the most part for most people, outweigh the positives. So after talking about it for 8 minutes, what is there to do? Well, here, how about this? Let's explain what the developers could do and what content creators like us can do in order to maybe, hopefully, see this game flourish. Let's start with the devs, only just because, you know, it only makes sense. Now, what I'm going to say doesn't mean that it can be done in a relative pace, and, you know, I understand that game development takes a lot of work, but these are the things that have to be done in order to see the game grow. So I understand that not all of this can be done in a small amount of time, but I'm gonna say it anyway. One of the biggest problems that people have are the graphics. They believe that the graphics are just not up to par to what you would think about in this realm of platform fighters. A lot of platform fighters not only have a great art style, but how they move is very fluent and it's very clear. I understand that this is going to take a lot of time. I get you. But this has to be done at some point, unfortunately. And I also understand that like if people don't know, if you look at characters like Ezzy or you look at characters like Kid, God, you could see the improvement. Let me show you the old models. Okay, that is ass. Now let's look at the new models. That's way better. And that took a lot of time, and that was just 2 characters. So I can only imagine trying to not only do it for the characters, but also the layouts of the stages and also other things. I understand. It's a lot of work. but it has to be done. Listen, I understand that things like League can be played on a toaster, but I don't know what type of magic you need to find in order to make it so that even if people don't have the highest end PCs, they can still play the game. And I don't know how that could be done, but it's gotta be done. There are a lot of players that would play this game more, even if they have to go on Discord, but simply the fact that it's not optimized makes it such a drag in order to actually play the game. So we gotta go with that. Matchmaking. Apparently there's no matchmaking right now. However, in the comments of my, recent community poll, people have talked about that they are going to redo matchmaking and bring it back. So that's already a good positive. The fact that it wasn't here is kind of cringe, but, it's a little understandable. Those are the things that the game has to do better on a basic sort of fundamental level. But what are other things that pretty much need to be improved on? Well, if we're not talking about mechanics or character design or how the game looks, I feel as though that we can do a lot of things better. When it comes to advertising, I definitely think that the company, or I don't even know what it is at this point, but I definitely think the game can do better in this aspect. Maybe it's just gonna take YouTubers like us in order to actually get the word out there, but I feel as though that advertisements can be done a lot better in this game. I know I just referenced League, but I really feel like Rushdown Revolt should take some aspects of League and just take it into their sort of story. Now, what I mean by that is just, have you ever seen like a League character, like an animated like sort of cutscene, and then the character just voices their lines about what they're doing in the game? I feel like if you can't really do cutscenes and you can't have a single player, I think the best alternative that you can do in order to flesh out the world and flesh out the characters, the reason why people play the game, I feel like if you had that sort of thing in order to flesh out the world and characters, it would give people a reason in order to care about the game even more. And with that, more than likely, people will also want to buy more skins, making the game better in general. Speaking of that, the characters can definitely have a lot more personality within them. One of the biggest reasons why I even picked Erda was because of her quote when you play the game, "Don't get grabbed," is a really good line for her. But the fact that there's like no other lines or no other ways to like interact with the opponent is kind of weird. I understand that we don't have the biggest budget in the world, so we can't do something a la like Mortal Kombat where it's like characters have one line and then another line and they interact and, flesh the world in sort of that way. We don't have enough money to do that, but there is enough creative juices that you could do in order to actually just make the characters either more interesting or have more depth. And I think a little bit more voice lines, or even if you say do the League idea and just have like an animated cutscene and then the voice actor just like talking about their world or their perspective, I feel like that can really impact the game and make people really like your characters. Again, takes time, takes money, but I feel like that should be done. This is the last point, and the reason why it's the last point because I don't really put my eggs in a basket for this sort of thing. Alternative content, say like single player and things like that. Listen, I know I've said this probably 10 times, and probably you're probably sick of me hearing it. I understand that resources are really slim, and you don't have a lot of time to do everything in the game. And what I even gave ideas for is probably stretching shit thin anyway. I understand that. That's why it's at the end. People want content. People want other ways in order to do alternative ways to play the game. People want their story modes. People want their single player modes in order to play with friends while they wait. Even if you don't give me that, I understand. I'm just saying, people want that. These are the things that can probably improve Rushdown Revolt to make it so that it can actually grow. A lot of people, it really sucks to talk about this, but one of the comments that I had was that Rushdown Revolt walked so that Combo Devils could run. I don't want that. I want them both to run. Fuck that. And unfortunately, in order to do that, it's going to require a lot of work. And it just sucks because I don't even know if the people even have the resources in order to do these things. I'm not even talking about the single player. Just the fact of, like, broadening the world, giving more voice lines, or, like, even better advertisement. I already know that takes a lot of effort and a lot of money. It's just... But enough about that. What about things that we can do as content creators? Because there's a lot of people and a lot of groups that have supported this game through and through. Spark League itself is just really manning the fort when it comes to the gameplay and it comes to, like, just good Rushdown Revolt to be played. You got Axie, one of the figureheads in this sort of space, and, you know, he tries his best in order to make this game, or to actually spread the news of this game. But not only them, but me specifically, I think we gotta do better. I think videos like the Grappler video that I made, like the top 10, not top 10, like the mains that I have and, like, explaining Rushdown Revolt characters, I think what we have to do is just that we gotta really just put more of that into the ethosphere. I think one of the next videos that I should make is definitely either ledge lobbing as a concept, or Seth being one of the best clone characters to ever be made in a fighting game. Not platform fighters, in a fighting game. I think with more videos like that show passion and shows people why we love the game so much, I feel like that can only help the reputation of Rushdown Revolt to explain why this game is really good. And I understand it gets harder and harder for us because, you know, we're big adults now. We probably have 9 to 5s. At least I have a 9 to 5, so it's fucking hard as shit. But, you know, sometimes you gotta grit your teeth and do what you need to do in order to help people. You know what I mean? I feel like more videos like that, or more discussions, can just make the game a lot better and just get a lot of buzz going. I don't mean to bring up polls because, you know, it's only a low sample size, so it's not gonna get, you know, the majority of people. But I ran a poll a few days ago, and I just wanted people's opinions on Rushdown Revolt. And I think some of them are in the video, you know, as I keep talking. But a lot of people really enjoy Rushdown Revolt. It's just the fact that Rushdown Revolt, not only the graphics, not only the optimization, not only the content, but the fact that you have to, you know, there's such a low, quantity of players. You have to actually go on Discord in order to play. You know, so many people have these negative things, but most of the time, they talk about why Rushdown Revolt is so good and how they just wish they can play more of it. And I think that can just be indicative of people in general. I think most players that play Rushdown Revolt really enjoy Rushdown Revolt and really enjoy the characters and just really enjoy the game. It's just these macrocosm things that unfortunately really needs to be met so that we can get them back. I've said it before, but Combo Devils is gonna look like it looks like it's gonna be so great. And it looks like it's just going to get so many people on its side. And I enjoy that. I can't wait. But Rushdown Revolt is also a good game. And I also want it to flourish. Unfortunately, through things that happen in the company, the devs don't have the resources that they can in order to make all of this reality, you know? The matchmaking, the graphics, you know, I'm pretty sure they have like a skeleton crew of people that are just working on the game. And, you know, that sucks. And, you know, I don't really want to do like the Sonic Fox sort of thing where it's just, I just recommend people just put your money, funnel it in just cuz. Because, you know, a lot of people have already been burned by the fact that they lack these sorts of things I already talked about. And the fact that, you know, that monetization thing happened beforehand. So giving more money for the sake of it when they haven't seen the changes yet doesn't really seem like the move to me personally. So I guess we're at some crossroads. Unfortunately, in order to do the things that you need to do in order to make this game flourish, you would need time, energy, money, you know, all those things. And from what I've seen, it doesn't really sound like they have all the materials in order to do that. But you also just can't crowdfund because, you know, people have already been burned by the game, so it's definitely a situation. I do, however, have hope. I can clearly tell that the devs of this game still care a whole lot. They give balance patches, they give new mechanics, they give updates to the characters, or at least how the characters look. And you know, they want to do these things. I said it before, they want the matchmaking to come back. They have a guy, he's just working on Rivals 2 right now. So it's clear to see that these devs want the game to be better. They just probably don't have enough in order to do it at a relative pace. And maybe I have to hear recommendations from other people, but me personally, I believe that Rushdown Revolt deserves another chance. There's clearly effort put into the game. People love these characters. People love the mechanics. People love playing. It's just everything else that's the problem. And I would really hate to see one of my favorite platform fighters just completely gone off the wayside in favor of others, when I personally think that all should flourish. I think it's just going to require the devs to lock in, and I think it's just going to require us as content creators to lock in as well, because they can only do so much. And you know, I feel like they need us right now. And even if I have a 9 to 5, I feel as though that I can help the game. And hopefully with this video, it can at least get the word out there that I believe people want this game to flourish. And people are hungry for the game to be better. Hopefully the devs understand this. Hopefully the players understand this. And hopefully I can understand that there's a lot of work to be done. And even with all that, through and through, I think that Rushdown Revolt deserves another chance.